Virginia is the site for what promises to be another epic Big 12 battle from the place Jerry West called home. This is Super Tuesday, presented by Progressive, and it tips off with what they're calling a gold rush in Mountaineer country. That's what they're saying inside WVU Coliseum as the number 5 Baylor Bears, undefeated on the road, visit the West Virginia Mountaineers, who have yet to lose at home. How about a little basketball with your happy hour? Alongside Jay Billis, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Thanks for joining us on Super Tuesday. And Jay, it's been an unhappy week for the defending national champs. The Baylor Bears coming off back-to-back home losses, and we just found out prior to tip that they're going to be without their floor general tonight.
Yeah, James Akinjo, who's been injured the last couple games, and that's really affected Baylor. He and Jeremy Sohan being out, and they're both out tonight. That is a huge blow to Baylor because James Akinjo is leading this team in scoring and assists at just under 6 per game. He leads them in steals and leads them in free throw attempts. He's a ball-dominant guard that would have been great to have out there to break this West Virginia pressure, but they can't just rely on one handler, whether it's L.J. Cryer, Adam Flagler, whomever. It's got to be 5 guys that are going to handle it, and they cannot turn it over against a West Virginia defense that turns you over out of 1 out of every 4 possessions. They average forcing 17 turnovers per game, and Taj Sherman and Sean McNeil are going to have big games for West Virginia. They're the challenge shot makers that Bob Huggins relies upon to put points on the board. They're going to put points on the board in this one for West Virginia to win.
Your officials, Gary Maxwell, Terry Weimer, James Breeding, and in their road green uniforms, Baylor controls the opening tip. And immediately a turnover. It's going to be West Virginia basketball. West Virginia's starting 5, Jay, when they're all healthy, has been the same all season.
Yeah, West Virginia has really good guards. They are very quick off pick and roll situations, and both Sherman and McNeil are big time scorers that can make really difficult shots, but their inside guys have to start finishing plays.
And that's a good start from Taz Sherman with a triple from the wing.
Now, Taz Sherman, Rich, as you know, has been sick the last couple of games, and it's really affected him. He did not play very well and was not himself against Kansas, but he's a guy, 20-point-a-game scorer before West Virginia went to Allen Fieldhouse, and he is a complete guard.
And a near turnover again, 10 on the shot clock. L.J. Cryer controlling, number 4 in green. Tough 2, no good. Offensive rebound. Kendall Brown, it's off his knee, and it's another Baylor turnover.
So Baylor starts the game with an unforced turnover on a guard-to-guard pass. They get a very difficult shot, can't corral the rebound. This could be a really difficult game for Baylor if they're not strong with the basketball, because West Virginia goes after you, and I think they're a much better team at home than they are on the road.
Undefeated, 10-0 coming in inside WVU Coliseum. Here's Isaiah Cottrell, tipped, controlled by Kedrian Johnson. 5 on the shot clock. It's in the hands of Sherman. From the logo to strong, and Brown, the freshman for Baylor, controls. Here's Adam Flagler, second leading scorer on the team. And as we mentioned, no James Akinjo. Here's a spot up 3, no good from Matt Meyer. Offensive rebound, and that's a Baylor specialty. That one rattles out and rebounded by Cottrell.
That was a heck of a rebound by Thamba because Bridges had him blocked out. He just went right over the top.
Cottrell, 2-point shot for Isaiah Cottrell, and he's in the scoring column.
That's where Cottrell has really improved his game. He's a little bit more decisive than he was last year. He's got such a good skill level and can actually shoot it out to 3-point range, although he's only knocking down about 21% of his threes.
Left alone, L.J. Cryer rattles it home. He's coming off a game where he led the Baylor Bears in scoring with 18 against Oklahoma State.
Well, he's got 4 20-point games on the season. That was a really good read of the defense to just flare out to the corner.
Loose ball. It's going to be West Virginia basketball.
Kendall Brown, just a freshman, but super talented. Great in transition, an excellent defender. But, Rich, anytime you make a catch, especially in the backcourt, you not only have to meet the ball, you have to catch, then face the defense and attack. You cannot catch and dribble or West Virginia's going to knock it away or take it away.
Brown checks out. And Jay, it's not press Virginia like it was a few years ago with Javon Carter and company, but they will pressure you with the best of them.
It's still guard the heck out of you, West Virginia.
Yes.
It may not be press Virginia, but Bob Huggins, wherever he's been, whether it's been Akron, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Kansas State, his teams guard. And if they don't guard, they sit.
Owner of 300-plus wins at his alma mater, WVU, as well as 300-plus wins, 399 to be exact, at Cincinnati. One of only 2 head coaches to win 300 or more games at 2 schools. There's Taz Sherman again.
Yeah, Roy Williams, the other of those coaches, did it at Kansas and North Carolina. And there you can see Sherman. Yeah, he's not only the leading scorer for West Virginia, I think he's their hardest worker. You know, a real go-to guy that can make difficult shots.
LJ Cryer with a difficult shot of his own from the corner.
How much better is LJ Cryer from last year to this year? He was more of a bit player last year, a role player, and this year he's matured into a star caliber player that can carry at times.
Yeah, 48% from 3 in Big 12 play for LJ Cryer. That one circles out, and out of bounds it'll stay Baylor basketball.
And those are the buckets that Baylor has to find. Those early offense in transition shots where you're not going to be guarded as closely. And I think if you pass ahead against this West Virginia defense, you've got a great opportunity.
Well, there's Scott Drew in his 19th season in Waco, 20th overall, owner of 405 career wins.
West Virginia makes every handoff situation, every ball screen situation so difficult. They just blow them up.
They are in your jersey. There's another tough 2. Loose ball, Sean McNeil, 22 in gold, comes away with it. And he trips over the midcourt line. And it goes out of bounds at 16-minute mark. We have our first media timeout of this contest. 2 tough teams going toe-to-toe. West Virginia up 1 early. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit Progressive.com. And in part by the Burger King. Get the $5 Your Way meal with the Double Whopper Jr. Alongside Jay Billis, Rich Hollenberg, Big 12 basketball from inside WVU Coliseum, a place that has some fond memories for Scott Drew. Jay, last year in overtime, Baylor beat West Virginia at WVU Coliseum to claim their first ever Big 12 regular season title.
First ever title and on the way to the national championship. Just an extraordinary run for Scott Drew and Baylor. It's amazing what Scott Drew's accomplished at Baylor in the last 20 years. Here's a lob. You know, Scott Drew, as you know, Rich, took over the program under extraordinarily difficult circumstances back in, 2003, 2004, whatever it was, and has built a powerhouse. And it's been built upon servant leadership. He develops players, brings in transfers. Nothing is seamless, but he's made it look seamless and has recruited a number of outstanding players that have gone on to be pros. But last year, that team that he had with Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, Mark Vital, just an extraordinary basketball team that only COVID late in the year kept from being undefeated.
And a tremendous coaching staff, we should mention, as we see them there. They've all been together for the last 5 years. Bill Peterson, you see him. He's a longtime NBA guy. He brought him on 5 years ago. John Jacobs came over from Gonzaga. And, of course, Jerome Tang, who's been the associated coach ever since he stepped foot on campus in Waco. That formed the foundation of what was nothing when they first got here. And now, all of a sudden, they have a powerhouse program. Can't call them a blue blood, but they're a green blood, if you can call them that.
Yeah, great.
There's a nice take by Flagler.
Great move by Adam Flagler. They ran some staggered screens, and Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua in the game for Baylor, one of the best defenders in the country and one of the best rebounders, can really run.
Speaking of running, there he is, Everyday John with the throwdown.
No, they call him Everyday John in part because he brings it every day, in part because it's so hard to pronounce his name over and over again. But can you, for a guy that brings that kind of energy, I mean, he comes into the game grabs a rebound, and beats everybody down the floor for an easy bucket. You know, that's extraordinary.
And here's Matt Meyer with the steal and the flush. Back-to-back dunks for the Baylor Bears, and they've got the 12-9 lead.
And part of that is, I think, Tchamwa Tchatchoua comes into the game, he just raises the energy level. And this is a lineup that can switch basically every screen and exchange that West Virginia throws. Now a little trap.
Sherman. Now Gabo Saboyan, who's on the floor, the best defender for these Mountaineers, number 3 in gold.
Now watch Jonathan Tchamwa Tchatchoua. After he grabs this rebound, just runs the floor. I mean, he sprints it. That's not running, that's sprinting. And he's beating good athletes down the floor. But that's what you call an easy basket. But you had to do something extraordinarily difficult to get that easy basket. And Rich, right now in the game for Baylor can spend a lot of energy guarding Taz Sherman and Sean McNeil, because they're not as concerned about the other players on the floor beating them. They want to make the other guys beat them.
Nice pass, but it can't get paid off. Here's Meyer in transition.
Good defensive pressure on that shot by Kendall Brown, and you got to wait for that cut. You know, Flagler was cutting back door, and once you cut back door, you're not coming back.
Tchamwa Tchatchoua threw it out of bounds. Another Baylor turnover. It's their second turnover of the afternoon. 12-9.
At least Baylor's turnovers have not been live ball. They've pitched them out of bounds so they can play 5-on-5. Those live ball turnovers are the ones that kill you.
And there's one right there, off the hands of Paulie Polycat. Flagler runs into a wall named Gabo Saboyan.
I don't know who draws more charges than Gabo Saboyan across the country. He drew 23 of them last year. And he already has 106 deflections on the season. Just gets his body there. And as a secondary defender, look, the truth is most secondary defender charges that are awarded in college basketball are actually blocks. But he does an extraordinary job of putting his body on the line and drawing those charges.
Yep, that would be his 18th of the season, Jay. Remarkable.
Yeah, and 23 last year. He's got 18 already this year. Good pass. I've got to catch that.
Yeah, off the hands of Polycat, out of bounds.
You know, Rich, West Virginia used to run a completely different offense than they do now. They used to run a 5-out pass and fill offense, but Bob Huggins doesn't feel like this is a good enough passing team to run what he's taught for so many years. He's really a master at teaching that and running it. It's awfully difficult to guard, but they've become more of a set play team.
How about for Baylor? What do they like to do offensively, Jay?
Baylor sets a lot of ball screens, and they operate a lot out of the middle third of the floor. And that can eliminate a lot of help situations, get you some vertical cuts and drives that can be more difficult to guard, and help has to come from longer spaces. So it's a really well conceived offense and offensive schemes.
Now number 10, Malik Curry on the floor running the show for Bob Huggins. Here's McNeil, top of the key.
McNeil got hit on that shot. That was a foul.
Baylor in the midst of a 9-0 run. 6-point lead coming up on 8 minutes gone by in the first half. And another dunk by Jonathan Tchamwa Tchatchoua.
And because all that action, especially the ball screen action, was run out of that middle third of the floor, basically in between the slot, it eliminates weak side help. And then Tchamwa Tchatchoua is wide open underneath. You know, they get some movement, some switches, and all of a sudden he's wide open.
Taz Sherman created his own space and knocked down the three. He's off to a good start.
Now, Bob Huggins has compared him to former Cincinnati great Steve Logan. He has a great understanding of how to get open. He's a good finisher, and his footwork in getting his shot is extraordinary.
Tchamwa Tchatchoua again, and count the basket.
It's hard to imagine losing somebody that big around the basket, but Tchamwa Tchatchoua is finding himself wide open possession after possession. His energy has been game-changing for the Bears. They say sick 'em, but this makes Bob Huggins sick. Too easy.
Baylor 10-zip in points in the paint, led by Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua.
I really think Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua changed the tenor of this game with the energy he brings. Sets a little ball screen, rolls right to the basket. The ball screen in the middle third of the floor. That eliminates help. And he finds himself wide open just on the baseline cut. Cottrell couldn't stay with him. And Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, what does he play, 20 minutes a game, give or take, and still averages 8 rebounds a game. He's their leading rebounder. 2.5 offensive rebounds. He blocks shots. I mean, he is a big-time athlete. And we saw him run the floor, Rich. We were talking off air. I think if you lined up all the big guys across the country and they ran a 40-yard dash, I think I'd put my money on Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua.
That's high praise. Jay Billis with a stopwatch.
How'd you like to be the seamstress that had to put that name on the back of the jersey? You're going to be looking down at the program a lot. Make sure you got it right.
Those are the unsung heroes of Baylor basketball. As Everyday John takes a seat on the bench. 11:43 to go. 7-point Baylor lead, looking to snap that unseemly 2-game losing streak. Both games coming at home. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State.
Everyday John, such a good nickname, too. I was called once in a while, maybe Jay.
Occasionally Rich. I think that's fitting. And there's Jerome Tang in the lower left-hand portion of your screen. He's the one who gave Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua that nickname, Everyday John. And one of the reasons, you've touched on so many, Jay, but one of the main reasons, he's the first one on the floor for practices and before games for these Baylor Bears. Matt Meyer's off to a terrific start.
Yeah, Matthew Meyer is an excellent shooter, especially when he has a little bit of time. But can you believe, Rich, that in high school the knock on him was that he was too passive? Not anymore.
No. His first couple of years especially, he was shot a minute Meyer. And what a block on the other end. That's Seni Njai, who Bob Huggins told us was going to get some burn today. Sherman off the mark. And it's rebounded by Flo Thamba.
Well, it's just deflating for West Virginia's defense to have to play so hard and they're not able to put points up.
Another easy 2 at close range. This time it's Thamba with the 2-hand jam.
You know, in the game at Allen Fieldhouse, West Virginia was down, I think, a bucket at halftime. If I remember right, it was like 33-31. In the second half, they got run away from. But the thing that bothered Bob Huggins so much was that he felt like they stopped competing in the second half. But, you know, Rich, when you can't put points up in the game, it's going to take a toll on your defense. It's hard to pitch shutout after shutout when you're not scoring. How is that not
Jalen Bridges, left hand. Yeah, I was a little surprised by the no call there myself.
An interesting dribble move, though.
Largest lead of the game for Baylor. It's a dozen. They've doubled up the West Virginia Mountaineers halfway gone by in our first half. Now Baylor's going to have to hustle with 6 on the shot clock. Meyer again.
Boy, that's just so easy for Baylor. I mean, they ran a little baseline screen essentially, and Meyer just popped back into the corner, just a little bump back, got his feet set, and did a really nice job in shot preparation.
Meyer's season high is 16. He has 11 already in this first half. Here's McNeil, and he gets in the scoring column. One of the best three-point shooters in the land.
Yeah, he leads West Virginia in three-pointers made, three-point percentage. He is their best shooter. Excellent at catch and shoot, but when he puts it on the deck, 1 or 2 dribbles, he's a really good pull-up shooter as well. If you can make him dribble it more than that, you can diminish that.
Man, this Baylor offense is picking apart West Virginia. Flo Thamba couldn't get it to go that time. Flagler, and 1 for Adam Flagler.
Boy, what a smart play by Flagler. He had Njai, knew that he was in the restricted area, and just went right into his body. If he wanted to try to draw the charge, it was going to be a foul. And that was the right of the offensive player because of that restricted area. And not only did he get the foul, he was strong enough to complete the play. And see how he never took his eyes off the rim? Your eyes make layups, and Flagler really strong in making that play.
Adam Flagler, best free throw shooter on this team, 79%, and he completes the three-point play. Well, coming up, we have a really good Big 12 ACC Super Tuesday doubleheader tonight. Number 7 Kansas is in Norman to take on Oklahoma at 7 Eastern. Then Paolo Banchero and number 6 Duke squaring off against Florida State. Both games on ESPN and the app. One app, one tap.
And who's been better, Rich, in the Big 12 than Ochai Agbaji at Kansas? I think thus far he would have to be the Big 12 Player of the Year to this point, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. He's won Big 12 Player of the Week coming into this week. Second time he's done that. He and Taz Sherman, the only Big 12 players to have 2 Big 12 Player of the Week awards so far this season. And he's the best three-point shooter in the conference as well.
It's just such high-level consistency. He did a great job defensively against Taz Sherman when he was guarding him in that ball game in Allen Fieldhouse. And it's hard to believe, as many terrific teams as Bob Huggins had, he's never won there.
LJ Cryer's three-point attempt goes out of bounds. It'll be West Virginia basketball, but 8:12 left in the first half. Jay, what a turnaround we've seen from the last time Baylor took the floor in that loss to Oklahoma State. It was a season low in points, in assists, and in field goal percentage. And so far tonight against a good West Virginia defense, they're shooting 60% from the field and have assisted on 10 of their 12 field goals.
Well, how many dunks and layups have they had? And that'll get you off to a really good start and, make your jump shots a little bit easier. A little baseline screen by McNeil.
That ball goes out of bounds, and we have a stoppage of play with 7:54 to go and a 16-point Baylor lead. The number 5 Bears over West Virginia. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. And by Burger King. Get the $5 Your Way meal with the Double Whopper Jr. Coming up, we have a basketball quadruple header Saturday on ESPN, headlined by the Syracuse Orange going to Cameron Indoor to take on number 6 Duke. And that's followed up by number 13 LSU and number 25 Tennessee in an SEC clash from Knoxville. 2 of the 4 terrific games you're going to see on ESPN coming up as part of the Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. I know Jay Billis is planning on being at that Syracuse-Duke game Saturday.
Get to watch Jim Boeheim and Mike Krzyzewski go up against one another for the umpteenth time, and both are great friends. And one of the many coaches, or 2 of the many coaches that are over 70 years old across the country. It's remarkable, how long these coaches have coached and how well they've done it for so long. It's really, really. I mean, when John Wooden retired in 1975. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and he was 65 years old. I thought he was the oldest man that ever lived.
Well, the story of this game, Jay, at least one of them for Baylor, is their points in the paint. They have 14. West Virginia has 16 total.
Yeah, and Baylor's really flipped the script on West Virginia. Early on, it was a couple of Baylor turnovers, but since then, West Virginia's turned it over 6 times. Baylor only 3.
Nice backdoor, but it's going to be off Adam Flagler, and it'll be West Virginia basketball.
Baylor again running so much offense through the middle of the floor. That cut from the top is awfully hard to defend when there's no weak side help there. If you're running your offense by starting it with a wing pass, that allows West Virginia to load up their defense. Everybody's going to be on the midline. It's going to be harder to pass and cut, harder to drive, but a really good scheme thus far by Baylor to attack West Virginia. And West Virginia needs to put a lot more pressure on the ball because, so far Baylor's been operating in a comfortable manner, I would call it, on the offensive end.
Here's 10 and gold, Malik Curry coming off a 23-point effort last time out. And there's a nice jump shot.
Boy, and did that in a crowd. When that wing ball screen was set, DeMont Kerrigan was in the low post, and he needs to clear that space. I mean, he essentially kept his defender there to make that even more difficult and make that shot be taken in a crowd.
Now Flagler surrounded by gold jerseys and turns it over. Here's McNeil to the cup.
A beautiful hesitation move by Sean McNeil on the wing, and that's West Virginia scoring off its defense. You dribble the ball into the crowd, you'd better be like a running back that's taking it through the line, because they're going to knock it away if you're not really strong with it.
6-zip Mountaineers run to make it a 10-point game. And a foul called. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Gabe Osaboyan was out there on Kendall Brown doing a great job, but he put two hands on the ball handler. He did everything perfectly, but once he put two hands on the ball handler, that's an automatic call. At least it's supposed to be. The officials don't always call it, but they called it there. You know, the crowd doesn't understand it, but those are the kind of fouls that Gabe Osaboyan needs to avoid. You know, he picks up, I would call that a cheap one. He did everything perfectly except just put his hands on the ball handler.
And now we have an offensive foul. We're going the other way.
Got Chamwa Chachua on a moving screen. You just got to stand there, make the guy run around you.
And now Flo Thamba will replace JTT on the floor for Scott Drew. 6:08 to go, and a 10-point Baylor lead.
You know, most, if not all, of West Virginia's turnovers have come from their front court. So when the big guys do get the ball, they've got to be more sure-handed with it.
Curry off to the right. The rebound, Kendall Brown. Good outlet. Bonner gives it up to Thamba. And there's a steal by Osaboyan.
You show that ball a little bit, and it is gone.
Here's Sherman. McNeil likes it from that deep.
Rich, did you see what McNeil did there? There was no ball screen coming. He pointed down at the floor like he wanted a ball screen. That got the defense to relax just a little bit, and he pulled up for that shot. He knew exactly what he was doing. That was basically deception on his part to get that shot.
And that was from the eastern part of West Virginia on the logo. Here's Brown. Can't answer. And Curry tracks it down.
Well, this is more of the West Virginia defense that Bob Huggins wants to see. Much more active and engaged on the defensive end.
Sherman short. And a foul called on L.J. Cryer. The Cardinal sins, fouling the three-point shooter.
Great job by Gabe Osaboyan to come in from the backside, knock that thing away. And then watch how he points down. There's nobody there. He just wanted to get Matthew Meyer to be looking for the screen. That way he could just pull up for that shot. Really good job by Sean McNeil, who led the nation in scoring when he was at junior college, averaged about 26 points per game in JC. He was All-America as a junior college player.
His dad, Jeff, was his high school coach at a Union, Kentucky. And now LJ Cryer.
When you grow up in Kentucky, if you can't shoot, are you deported after a certain amount of time? Deported to another state?
Well, he's had a long and winding road to get to Morgantown. Started his college career at Bellarmine, stayed there for about 2 days, Jay, and decided this isn't for me. Went to 2 different community colleges and got noticed in the Ohio area. And you know as well as I do, Bob Huggins has long tentacles recruiting-wise in the Ohio area, and someone called him up and said, you should take a look at this Sean McNeil kid, and all of a sudden he's the best shooter on the team.
Well, Bellarmine is in Louisville, Kentucky, and just went Division I. Scotty Davenport, the head coach there, has done a fabulous job with that program. All the action in the middle of the floor, everything lifted up to get to this point.
Contested jump shot, loose ball. Bonner comes away with it, but it's taken by Sherman. 12-0 West Virginia run. And McNeil adds to it.
Nice screen there to shield off a defender from getting to the rim by Paulie Polycat.
Timeout called by Scott Drew, and the Mountaineer Maniacs are at full throat. It's a 2-point game. Number 5 Baylor and West Virginia.
Call it.
It's true. They're not calling it. And you know, I seem to recall, Seth Greenberg, that when you were on the sidelines, you weren't so agreeable with the officials. I recall that bald head of yours turning quite red when certain calls were made.
Rich Hollenberg here. I have commandeered one of the bald men on campus alongside LaFonso Ellis and Seth Greenberg. Jay Billis calling the game here, and all of a sudden, out of the timeout, Baylor answers with a jump shot to end a 4.5-minute scoring drought, Jay.
They've done a good job, Baylor, of bumping back on some of those screens and essentially fading to the three-point line. That's where 3 of their jumpers, if I've counted right, have come from, and they've all been open. And give West Virginia credit. I mean, they came out the last 4 or 5 minutes, and they've been excellent on the defensive end. They forced 5 turnovers during that period over about 10 possessions, with Baylor going 0 for 3 in that stretch.
That 3 ball off the mark by L.J. Cryer is going to have to be careful, Jay. 3:19 to go in the first, and he's playing on the floor with 3 fouls.
Don't have a lot of choices, and if he does get in a situation where the choice is foul or give up a bucket, you're going to have to give up the bucket, because you can get a bucket back. You cannot get a foul back in this game. And one of the things for West Virginia, they can struggle at times to score, but when you're not playing well, you got to make the other team play worse. And West Virginia's pretty darn good at that.
Here's Curry. And the foul on the floor, says James Breeding.
Well, West Virginia has turned defense into offense. They get a turnover, all of a sudden they're in scramble mode. And then Sean McNeil with a great hesitation move. Again, picking up the turnover, passing ahead, and now all of a sudden you are playing ahead of the Baylor defense. It's layup, layup for Sean McNeil, but that's not because of great offense. That's because of offense coming from great defense.
West Virginia has 12 points off 8 Baylor turnovers. And Malik Curry is scorching hot from the free throw line. 11 for 11 against Kansas. He's 3 for 3 now tonight against Baylor. This is a team, Jay, that really struggled from the free throw line beginning portion of the season. All of a sudden, come Big 12 play, they're 81% from the line as a team.
Well, how about what Jalen Bridges has been doing? He's not he's back into the game after being taken out for a long stretch. But Jalen Bridges is 20 of his last 20. And
yeah.
Bob Huggins talked about, their free throw shooting, and they've been spending more time in practice shooting free throws under pressure. And I think he said, he went back to something he used to do at Cincinnati that the players hated. And he said, if the players hate it, it's usually pretty good.
Is that your experience with Coach K?
Yeah. There was a lot of... Coach K hated a lot of things about my game.
Here's a 3 from number 3. Dale Bonner off the mark. The rebound of Damon Kerrigan.
When Kerrigan went up for that with both hands, that was a really good rebound for a team that hasn't rebounded the ball as well as you're used to.
Here's a turnover, and Bonner in transition.
That was just because Kerrigan was setting a screen, was not looking at the ball. And, you leave the floor to pass, those kind of things are going to happen. But as hard as West Virginia plays defensively, you can't defend a run out like that. Those are turnovers for touchdowns, as Tom Izzo calls them at Michigan State. But you could see Kerrigan had turned to set that screen. All of a sudden, Baylor's laying it in on the other end. That makes you feel awfully good when you can play ahead of that West Virginia defense.
Here's Bridges, catch and shoot, too strong.
And that's why you want to make
Taz.
That's why you want to make Taz Sherman give it up, Rich. You're sending it to a non-shooter.
Nice tap from McNeil to Curry in transition. Here come the Mountaineers. And Curry, fastest one on the floor, gets the bump and the bucket.
But Curry did such a good job going behind his back to maintain that dribble. He is such a good finisher at the rim. Very creative, an excellent driver. He's a lefty. Went in with that right hand to get that to drop. Really impressive.
Malik Curry's had himself a solid first half. 8 points, looking to make it 9. And looking to bring the West Virginia Mountaineers to within 2 with 2 minutes to go in the first.
He was one of the few bright spots, I thought, against Kansas in a game where, West Virginia got blown out in that second half. He's a transfer from Old Dominion. He was all Conference USA second team there, averaged about 16, 17 points a game. So a primary scorer that's taken on more of a secondary distributor's role at West Virginia.
And now he gets a breather with 2 minutes to go. And the freshman Kobe Johnson, number 2, takes his spot on the floor.
This is an important 2 minutes for Baylor here.
Why do you say that, Jay?
Well, when you're on the road and they got off to such a good start, had that big lead, but right here you don't want to get into a position where you're down 6 at the end of this stretch. You know, they're up 2 now. They ran a little play for a back screen, try to see if they get a lob, get a switch with Everyday John, had a guard setting it on him. But you don't want to give West Virginia the opportunity to run out for, 6 or 8 points here the last minute and a half.
It's an all-Johnson backcourt for Bob Huggins. Kobe throws it out of bounds off the hands of Kedrian Johnson.
One of the reasons I say that, Rich, is because going without Jeremy Sohan, who's a freshman but a very good defender and a versatile defender, and especially without James Akinjo, you can't make mistakes that's going to let West Virginia have a lead. I don't think Baylor can play from behind in this game.
Here's Meyer. And now Flagler has it. Resets with 8 on the shot clock. The lob, and it's off the rim, but Tchamwa Tchatchoua puts it back.
Boy, that ball screen in the middle of the floor, and then Kendall Brown came from the right corner for the lob, just hit the rim, but Tchamwa Tchatchoua was right there to get the rebound.
Here's Cottrell. And he was walled up by Everyday John. Out of bounds. It'll stay West Virginia basketball.
And that's the next step for Isaiah Cottrell, is to be able to make stronger moves there against a really good defender in Tchamwa Tchatchoua. He just walled up and made him take a tough shot.
Now 10 on the shot clock for the Ears. Here's Sherman, the double team. He passes out of it. Cottrell, 2 feet in the paint. Can't get it to go. And the putback doesn't go either for Osaboyan. And a jump ball is called. It's going to be West Virginia basketball.
Well, Gabe Osaboyan was right there. He basically played defense on a move because he crowded the paint. But his energy level and getting that offensive rebound, those are just things that West Virginia has to finish. I mean, there's so many opportunities right near the basket, and they haven't been able to finish those. That's gone all year long for Bob Huggins and the Mountaineers.
Take on Porter Moser's Oklahoma Sooners at 7 Eastern. Then Paolo Banchero and number 6 Duke squaring off against Florida State. Both games on ESPN and the app. Jump shot out of the timeout, off the mark. And another foul is called that stops play with 23 to go in the first half.
Yeah, Meyer was right there for the rebound. They got Osaboyan going over the top. Bob Huggins is saying in not so uncertain terms, that's called rebounding.
I'm glad you're a lip reader, because I couldn't quite tell what he was telling Gary Maxwell at that point.
Well, there's not a better guy in basketball than Bob Huggins. Obviously, one of the great coaches of all time, won over 900 games, and he's going to be in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of time. But an extraordinary coach that has had an amazing 40-year career.
7 wins away from tying Jim Calhoun for 3rd all-time Division I coaching victories. Now 5 to go in the first half. The ball's in the hands of Adam Flagler. He squeezes off a 3. It's no good, and we go to halftime. As the Mountaineer musket rifle fires, it's 37-33. Number 5 Baylor with a 4-point lead. And it's been a game of runs. Baylor, 24-5 run. West Virginia got back in it with a 14-zip run. We send things to the studio for the E-Trade halftime report after this. The West Virginia Mountaineers, 37-33. Back to start the second half alongside Jay Billis. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Jay, they lead by 4 now, but Baylor led by as many as 16 in the first half. What was most effective for them offensively?
Well, I think when Baylor was able to run half-court offense out of the middle third of the floor, they would get a ball screen from a big guy, and in this position it's going to be number 23, Jonathan Tchamwa Tchatchoua, in the middle of the floor. That means there's no weak side help, so the middle's wide open. Everybody's guarding their man and hug to their man, and because they commit to the ball, Cottrell commits to the ball instead of just showing and recovering. Chamachach was wide open for an easy bucket. I think you're going to see West Virginia change their ball screen coverage in the second half to deal with that middle third of the floor ball screen action. But West Virginia, the latter part of the second half, did a much better job on the defensive end of making things difficult, forcing turnovers. But still, Rich, I think if you had told Scott Drew before the game, without James Akinjo in the lineup, without Jeremy Sohan in the lineup, we'll spot you a 4-point lead in Morgantown at halftime, I think he'd take that in a heartbeat. So Baylor has to feel like they're in a pretty good position going into the second half.
That's good perspective as Baylor controls the opening tip for the second half. And immediately we're going the other way. That's a foul away from the ball on the Baylor Bears. And on the left you see in the sweater, that's Jeremy Sohan, and then right next to him, that is James Akinjo. Also, let's not forget, Langston Love, who's in the green Baylor shirt, was another star freshman, one of the best recruiting classes in the nation for Scott Drew, and he hurt himself at the beginning of the season. We didn't even get a chance to see him play.
Baylor going to a zone look to start the second half.
And how about that for a start for Taz Sherman?
Well, Sherman got the foul from Matthew Meyer trying to challenge that shot. But this is an example, Sherman along the baseline coming back out, an example of what Bob Huggins was talking about with Taz Sherman's great feet. You know, he's able to come out for that shot and pivot, turn, get his body squared because of his footwork. And he also never takes his eyes off the rim. He makes difficult shot after difficult shot. And Rich, that's not going to change in this game. I mean, in the first half, it was Sean McNeil, it was Taz Sherman, it was Malik Curry. I mean, they scored all but 4 of West Virginia's points in that first half.
And this is by far Taz Sherman's best Big 12 game of the season so far. He has 14, missed that free throw to complete the three-point play. That's West Virginia's first miss from the free throw line tonight. Here's Meyer, led the scoring with 11. And he can't add to that total on that jump shot.
Awfully
tracked down by Osaboyan.
Just an awfully difficult shot.
And a quick release from Sherman that time. Here's Flagler bringing it up for the Bears. Now LJ Cryer, and that's another triple for number 4, his 4th three of the night.
Flo Thamba is setting some really physical screens out top. He's got to make sure that he's set on those. He's leaning into a few of them. Already had a foul called to the start of the second half. And he's going to have to be mindful of that.
And play stops with 18:27 to go. Talking to Scott Drew about Flo Thamba, he called him an elite screener. What does it take to be an elite screener, Jay?
Well, first of all, you have to get there early and set yourself and get wide so that the cutter can use the screen, just like we saw there. And here's the guy, I think, Jalen Bridges, that can really help this team. I mean, he's been playing very well of late. He had 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks against Oklahoma State, and it was 10 of 10 from the free throw line. He has to emerge as a consistent scorer, I think, for West Virginia to be a solid NCAA tournament team.
And he's been doing it in conference play. Top 10 in conference play in points and rebounds, Jalen Bridges. But that was his first bucket of the night. Nice take by Meyer, but he can't pay it off. A chance to tie or take the lead for the Mountaineers. Here's McNeil. The Hezzy, tough layup. Bridges can't follow.
How many close-in misses are we seeing from West Virginia game after game after game? I mean, it is so deflating to have opportunities near the basket and not come away with a foul call, a basket, or both.
Coming into this season, Bob Huggins said the biggest deficiency on this team that he could see is scoring around the rim. And it sounds so easy. Give it to a big guy, let him lay it in. But they have not had that luxury this season, Jay.
No, it's been very, very difficult for the big guys for West Virginia to get scores. And, you know, whether that last one was a foul or goaltending, whatever it was. These are still things that need to be finished by West Virginia, and they're capable of doing it. They just need to do it.
L.J. Cryer, the 6'1 sophomore out of Katy, Texas, making the most out of his second career start. He's got 13, looking for 14 now. That leads the Baylor Bears. And he's no stranger to scoring buckets in bunches. Over 3,400 points out of Morton Ranch High School. That's the 5th most ever from a Texas public school player.
Well, 1-2-2, 3/4 court pressure. And it looks like a little zone look in the half court.
Bridges finishes. He has 5 now.
One of the things Bridges does so well is he's a very good cutter. And he cuts oftentimes off of Taz Sherman penetration. But his cutting is really improved. And I think Bob Huggins credits his father for that, from teaching him from a really young age how to play.
How about that float game from L.J. Cryer? He has 16 now. McNeil, way behind the three-point line, knocks it down.
But even that far out, Rich, you cannot go underneath the screen or any handoff action, because he will pull the trigger from 27 feet. You've got to go over the top and stay connected to him. You go under, get hung up, forget it.
So Sherman with 13, McNeil with 12. That is the 1-2 punch that, if West Virginia is going to challenge, they're going to have to shine offensively.
Now watch this little handoff action. Cryer went underneath it, and you have to blow that up and go right in between the passer and the cutter being McNeil.
McNeil 2 for 3 from 3 tonight. He leads this West Virginia team with 32 3-pointers on the season now.
Rich, a lot of times playing against West Virginia can become like a prize fight, that it's like body blows. It's going to show up later in the game. And without a Kinjo in there, you're having guys handle the ball that don't usually handle it this much, and it can wear you out mentally and physically.
Wild shot in the paint from Dale Bonner, and it's corralled by McNeil, and a foul is called. 15:49 to go, our first media timeout of the second half, and we've got a white knuckle affair.
The ball, and then he gets fouled. I mean, he's going up for a shot there. Flo Thamba was not straight up. That is a clear foul, and when uncalled. Bob Huggins was pointing up to the replay to say to the big board, saying, "Come on now." And then on the other end, Cryer gets fouled, and he did, but that wasn't near the contact we saw on the other end. So the officials really letting it go in this one, and West Virginia should have been at the free throw line twice on that last play.
And Jay, if that continues for the final 15+ minutes, who does that benefit more, Baylor or West Virginia?
I tend to think it benefits West Virginia, but the problem is, Rich, Bridges, even though he got fouled and it was a clear foul, that's still a play that he should finish. That should have been an end one. If he did get the call, Bob would have been telling him that should have been an end one. You've got to finish that.
Sherman in and out. West Virginia hasn't led since they were up 9-8 the first 5 minutes of the game. But they find themselves down just 1 to the 5th-ranked Baylor Bears, 15:22 to go.
Kedrian Johnson doing a really nice job of knocking that ball from behind, a back tip. And he's got such good hands. He's got 96 deflections coming into this game on the season. Second in assists, leads this team in steals.
Here's Cryer. He has all 7 of the Baylor second half points, but couldn't convert there. Bridges takes it inside and gets it to go.
Well, that's a good finish. I'm not sure that Bridges needed the Euro step there. I think he could have taken it right in and just punched it.
Flagler. And Adam Flagler gets fouled and will go to the line. It's been another quiet night for Adam Flagler, second leading scorer on this Baylor team. averaging 12.1 a game, 15 plus in conference play, but he really struggled against Oklahoma State. 1 for 10 from the field, and he's been held down to just 3 points so far tonight.
Well, and it's understandable in this game against West Virginia because you don't have James Akinjo in there to get you shots. So it's a totally different rhythm for a player like Flagler and for LJ Cryer too. They're having more ball handling responsibilities and less opportunity to hunt shots because Akinjo is he's not there to take care of the ball for you.
Here's our NBA Wednesday doubleheader. LaMelo and the Hornets squaring off against the Celtics to start us off at 7:30 Eastern. Then the Clippers begin an 8-game roadie against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Our NBA doubleheader available on ESPN and the app.
Right, how good has LaMelo Ball been for Charlotte?
My goodness.
You know, averages just under 20 points per game, over 7 rebounds, 7.5 assists. And he's leading the league in Instagram highlights.
There's a big jump shot to give West Virginia a 3-point lead, courtesy of the 3 ball by Sean McNeil.
Well, really, Baylor cannot afford to lose either Sherman or McNeil. Those are the guys that can really hurt you. Make the other Mountaineers beat you.
Good hands by DeMont Carrigan, DC, knocking it out of bounds.
That's the second time he's done that in as many plays. Wound up fouling at the end, but remember a couple plays ago he took away that lob to Tchamwa Tchatchoua and then took away the roll. So you see the ball screen coverage in the middle of the floor adjusted by West Virginia at halftime.
Meyer had it blocked, got it back. Working on the smaller McNeil, can't get it to go. And it's out of bounds, West Virginia basketball.
But this is like a pickup game on the blacktop. You know, call your own fouls, and unless you lose a tooth, it's play on.
And Matt Meyer has some experience in that department. Lost a tooth a couple of games ago for Baylor. Here's Johnson.
Good pass.
Nice dish. And Matt Meyer gets called for the foul.
But Carrigan needed to go up with that. You know, maybe he was too nice and not wanting to put Meyer into the wood, but you got to go up with that. Good shot fake. You got the contact, but now all of a sudden it's taking the ball out of bounds instead of 2 free throws.
3-point lead for West Virginia. 13.5 minutes to go. In the Bob Huggins era in Morgantown, they are 14-13 at home against top 10 teams. They've been known to pull off an upset or two inside their home arena.
Well, even when you grab a rebound, West Virginia's right there if you bring it down. Taz Sherman was right there when Matthew Meyer brought that ball down to his waist.
Seeing a little more sense of urgency from this Mountaineers defense.
Here comes the high
on the
ball
shot
screen.
clock. Now 5 to shoot. Nice look underneath. The freshman Kendall Brown has the finish.
How smart was that cut? Coming from the right corner on the penetration, and Brown is more of a versatile defender. Last couple games, only 9 points in those 2 games combined.
Bridges with the long 3 off the mark. Kendall Brown, the preseason freshman of the year in the Big 12. 50-50 ball. And it's going to Baylor. Check that. It's going to be West Virginia ball.
Yeah, West Virginia should have had a foul called there. But take a look at Brown down in the corner here on the bottom of your screen. You know, McNeil is looking at the ball and not staying between his man and the basket. And Brown recognized that, made a really smart cut to the other side of the rim, wound up getting a layup out of it.
Maturity for a youngster.
Well, he's going to be a really good player. He's not there yet on the offensive end. More of a slasher, but a good passer. But as soon as he improves his shooting, he's such a versatile and good defender.
Here's Sherman with the ball, guarded by Brown. Pull up, short.
Well, give Brown
Everyday
a lot
John,
of
the
credit there.
rebound.
Brown deserves a lot of credit. Stayed in front of Sherman, put late pressure on that shot, almost fouled him at the end.
And the jumper is good on the other end. LJ Cryer, have yourself a night. 19 points, 2 off his career high.
Got a switch. Curry's got Tchamwa Tchatchoua on, and now Brown.
A lot of dribbling. And McNeil rolls off the rim. The tip no good. Off Matt Meyer's hands, it'll stay West Virginia basketball. Timeout on the floor. 2-point lead for 5th-ranked Baylor on the road in Morgantown. Proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball. Obviously, the West Virginia men's basketball program has had its fair share of success. Whatever conference it's played in, they've had some legendary players led by Jerry West, of course. But Jay Billis, the conversation around Morgantown and really nationwide is, when will Bob Huggins enter the Naismith Hall of Fame? You feel like it is a foregone conclusion, but it's not as simple as saying he's been snubbed.
Oh, I don't think so. The Hall of Fame is I think a difficult process. And one of the things that I try to keep in mind is, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame isn't just about, college men. There's the women's game, there's the international game, the international women's game, the NBA, the WNBA. So there are coaches and players and even officials from all those different levels. And one of the things that when you look at class after class, there aren't that many college coaches that are up every year. But college coaches and pro coaches now are eligible for the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame before they retire. It used to be after they retired. But I think with guys going so long, heck, if Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim were eligible after they retired, they'd be 80 when they went in. And I'm not sure that's good for the game. But I know Bob Huggins is going to be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of when. And he's over 900 wins. He took Cincinnati to the Final Four in 1992. We saw that one of the trophies, I think it was the Big East Championship trophy from his 2010 team at West Virginia, which was a fabulous team. It had, Deshaun Butler, Devin Ebanks, Joe Mazzulla, if I remember correctly. They beat Kentucky in the Carrier Dome in the Elite Eight to go on to the Final Four that year. They wound up playing Duke when Deshaun Butler got injured in that game. But how many coaches can you argue that have a better resume than Bob Huggins? There maybe a handful. There aren't very many. And the only thing that he doesn't boast, everything else he does, he has not yet won the national championship. But and that seems like it's a near automatic to get in. But the guy on the other sideline, Scott Drew, is going to go in as well. I think it is a mortal lock that both Bob Huggins and Scott Drew will someday be in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. That's how great they've been.
Yeah, and to put it in larger context, as the officials are looking at something official review right now with play stopped 11:32 to go. But it's amazing to look at the collection of head coaches in this conference alone. 6 of the 10 head coaches have been to Final Fours. You already have Bill Self, who's in the Naismith Hall of Fame. We talk about how good this conference is year in, year out. You have to start with the head coaches who are there running these programs.
I agree. They're the architects of the success. But especially what makes it such a great league, in my view, the coaches, the players, but also the fact that there are only 10 teams in the league, so they play home and home. And that's a big deal. In other leagues that are much bigger, you might get a great team that plays on your home court, but you don't have to return that game oftentimes. And that's I don't want to call it an advantage, but I like it when you have to return the game.
Out of the timeout, Sherman throws it to the wrong jersey. Matt Meyer with the steal. And he turns defense into offense.
Well, that's a great point, Rich. I mean, you turn the ball over and you're going against a West Virginia defense that isn't set. And good luck getting that shot when it's 5 on 5 with a set defense.
Sherman can't answer at the other end. Tip ball, tracked down by Dale Bonner.
And Dale Bonner's done a nice job of sticking his nose in there on the defensive end and rebounding. He's helping out. And you are not going to out-rebound West Virginia with just your big guys rebounding. Your guards have to do it as well on the defensive end.
Bonner's been the one benefactor of Jeremy Sohan being out with the injury. He's getting some increased playing time. Meyer can't connect on back-to-back threes, but there's a foul underneath. And that's going to go on Everyday John.
Well, that shot fake by Meyer opened that up, and Chamois Chachua had set the ball screen up top and had rolled down to inside position on Osaboyan and was able to hold it. He's so strong and athletic. I mean, those are two of the best rebounders in the league, and maybe the two best big guy help defenders in the league.
And now Osaboyan, unfortunately for Mountaineer fans, has to go to the bench with 3 fouls.
And those are the fouls you don't mind him getting because he's doing it near the basket. Another miss of a layup for West Virginia.
And a second one, tantalizingly close.
But for Osaboyan, you know, he gets a foul on a rebound. That's what you want him doing. When he gets those touch fouls on the perimeter, when he's slapping at the ball, he's got to avoid those. But these are easy opportunities, at least relatively easy. It's easy to say when you got a bunch of bodies around you. But if West Virginia starts finishing those, all of a sudden you'll see more wins.
Right now, Baylor with the 20-12 points in the paint advantage. And look at this, they still can't convert. And it's going to be called a jump ball, West Virginia possession.
It's like there's a lid on that basket for West Virginia. They've had close-in opportunity. Like, that should be a finish. It was challenged very well by Flo Thamba, but you know, you got to put those in the bottom of the net. There's no other way around it.
West Virginia's missed 12 of their last 14 field goals, coming up on 5 minutes, held scoreless until that bucket by Malik Curry.
Malik Curry's had a solid game, had 9 points in that first half, and then knocks that shot down when West Virginia really needed it after some deflating misses right around the 10.
Brown tried to thread the needle to Flo Thamba, tipped out of bounds.
Yeah, that pass was late. Thamba was wide open, but you take that extra count and it allows the West Virginia defense to recover and get a deflection.
Now LJ Cryer gives it up to Flagler. Still can't find the range. Flamba. And Flo Thamba grabbed that rebound, surrounded by Mountaineers, and unfortunately gave it up. Chance to tie with a triple for West Virginia.
Good defense by Thamba to corral the ball and then still recover to Kerrigan.
Curry. Like a jitterbug in there.
Those little hesitation moves, so difficult to guard. The change of pace, change of speed.
Tough two, no good. Tip ball. And McNeil comes away with it. He's got numbers. And he converts at the other end. West Virginia back on top. Timeout called, Scott Drew.
Rich, this has been a punch, counter-punch game. Everything has been difficult. The great hesitation move by Malik Curry, the finish with the left hand. He's a lefty. And then Sean McNeil in transition, taking it right to the 10. No misses there.
12 now on ESPN Plus, a must-have for Big 12 fans. The documentary series Our Time is back for another season. Every Thursday you can go all access with the Baylor men's and women's basketball teams. Behind-the-scenes looks at both programs with never-before-seen footage and sound from players and coaches. This week's episode is streaming now. Sign up today at espnplus.com/Big 12 Now.
And I've watched those Our Time episodes with Baylor, and they are absolutely awesome. Not just with Scott Drew, but Nikki Collins, the head coach at Baylor now. She's fantastic. I mean, just a great leader, you can tell. She's a coach of the year in the WN, and I think is doing a really good job with a great Baylor women's program. Good cut.
Taking over for Kim Mulkey and having her share of success. Here comes Baylor, trailing by 1.
Well, Rich, we've used the word deflating, and that's another close-in opportunity off a great cut. Curry couldn't get it to go. I mean, those are missed layups.
Meyer creates space, and a foul is called, and Matt Meyer is going to be going to the line to shoot 3. Timeout on the floor, 7:35 to go. Come on back to WVU Coliseum. That would be the Kansas Jayhawks and the TCU Horned Frogs. Kansas coming up later tonight against Oklahoma. And you talk about a gauntlet, Jay Billis. These two teams know how tough life is in the Big 12. As a matter of fact, Baylor is in the midst of 3 games on the road over their next 4. One of them being in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. They're going to be in Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama.
Yeah, you're not going to back into a Big 12 championship. You're not going to back into an SEC title either. The 2 best leagues in the country, in my view. The Big 10 factors in there right there as well. But that Kansas-Oklahoma game is going to be good. I mean, Tanner Groves, who transferred in to Oklahoma, averages about 13 points, 6 rebounds a game. He's a good passer. And Elijah Harkless, one of the better defenders in the league.
Those 3 free throws give Baylor a 2-point lead, 7.5 to go. It's been a game of runs between the Mountaineers and the Bears. And Meyer is making his presence felt on both ends of the floor now.
You know, right now for Baylor, Matthew Meyer, L.J. Cryer, Adam Flagler, that's where they have to go for offense. Those are the guys that West Virginia has to be primarily concerned with. You don't want to allow a drop off. It's not like you don't have to guard the other guys, but those are the 3 that are going to do the most damage.
5 on the shot clock. Thamba, tough 2 in the paint.
Boy, and that was a pass that was made where there was nowhere to throw it, and it was almost like Thamba intercepted that pass in order to score in the lane.
Here's Curry. He's had a hot hand. 15 from Malik Curry. Now at the other end, can you top this? L.J. Cryer with 21.
And that drives Bob Huggins crazy. You know, you score and then give up a layup on the other end after the ball goes through the net.
Loose ball. And they're going to say it was on the end line. It's going to stay West Virginia basketball. Good hustle, though, by L.J. Cryer.
Great hustle by Cryer, but I'm not sure that ball didn't go off of Malik Curry as it was knocked away. But anytime you can get it, you should try to get it. And Cryer gave great effort.
Well, Scott Drew knew without James Akinjo tonight and Jeremy Sohan, he was going to have to get some otherworldly performances. He's gotten that. A season high from Meyer and a career high tying 21 from L.J. Cryer. But there's Gabe Osaboyan with some rare offense for the Mountaineers.
A little bit of a broken play for West Virginia. Baylor did a good job of downing that ball screen action when he got that pass back. Just a terrific drive right into the body of Matthew Meyer, who had to jump off onto him.
So now a bit of foul trouble for Scott Drew. Matthew Meyer has 3, as does L.J. Cryer and Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua.
And free throw shooting, not a strength of Gabe Osaboyan.
He'll show you, Jay Billis.
Well, he made it. It's still not a strength.
Just a 34% free throw shooter, bucking a trend and getting the West Virginia Mountaineers to within 1. Meyer, catch and shoot. Got it!
Boy, really good job by Jordan Turner off that ball screen, little step up, just the throwback. And you have to stay connected to Meyer. I mean, he is one guy you just cannot leave because he's got such deep range.
5 triples for Matt Meyer tonight. Osaboyan, the step through, and he gets fouled. Another layup missed at the rim.
Yeah, he got fouled, but those are, again, they keep harping on it because it keeps happening. But take a look at Matthew Meyer here being guarded by Taz Sherman. There was a little bit of confusion, and Osaboyan picks up the roll. Then he's got to recover out to Matthew Meyer, and that miscommunication between Sherman and Osaboyan cannot happen with regard to Meyer. There's no way he can be allowed to catch and shoot. He's one of those guys you should never have to close out to.
Meyer has to check out with 4 fouls and 5:28 to go.
Well, you have to give Baylor a lot of credit on the road in a really tough environment to play. I think West Virginia is one of the tougher arenas to play in. The crowd is great, and West Virginia always seems to play incredibly hard at home. Not that they don't on the road, but it's just a higher level when they are at home. And without James Akinjo and without Jeremy Sohan, Baylor's done a nice job.
And Baylor continues the hot shooting. Adam Flagler gets in the act. His first triple of the night. All alone, Bonner for 3, short.
Well, Bonner didn't make it, but that was a good shot. And another terrific guard rebound by Baylor. The guards are getting in there and helping out.
Scramble for the ball. Sherman with it. Open look, no good. Here comes Brown. Contested at the rim. Brown has it. And Osaboyan comes away with it.
Yeah, Brown needed to kick that ball out.
And that's going to go on to L.J. Cryer, and that's going to be number 4 on number 4. So now the top 2 scorers for Baylor, Jay, saddled with 4 fouls apiece.
Yeah, that's a huge foul call right there, and it was absolutely the right call. But we had talked about that, Rich, a little bit earlier. There are times when you get caught in a bad spot, and you got to let the guy go. Because when you've got 3 fouls, there's still 4.5 minutes left to go in regulation. That's the best defense you can put on a scorer, is to get him out of the game with fouls.
And Sherman knocks down the first.
I'm so impressed with Todd Sherman. He does a great job at getting open, and his versatility is so impressive. He can take you off the dribble, excellent in catch and shoot situations, and I think we've talked about it with both McNeil and Sherman. They are excellent at making challenge shots.
Now 15 for Sherman, a 5-point deficit for West Virginia.
And Sherman almost face guarding Adam Flagler. He's not going to help off him at all.
Tchamwa Tchatchoua tried to zip the pocket pass to Kendall Brown, and it's kicked by Osaboyan.
So Sherman is face guarding Flagler, and they're going to make one of these other Baylor Bears beat him. Now Cryer back into the ball game. Meyer's still out, so now you have 2 primary scorers in both Flagler and Cryer in the ball game. So I don't think you're going to see much help off of those 2.
4:07 to go. 66-61. Number 5 Baylor trying to hang on the road. Wouldn't argue with you there, Casey. And obviously, little happy hour basketball from Morgantown tipping it off. And in the final 4 minutes, it's just a 5-point lead for the 5th-ranked Baylor Bears.
A little high horn set.
With the bucket.
Well, that was a good call out of the timeout. They went to a high horn set and really ran it high above the 3-point line. That gave Baylor extra room to operate in the middle of the floor. And Rich, Matthew Meyer still on the bench with 4 fouls. Both he and Cryer, the 2 leading scorers in this game, have 4 fouls each. But here's that horn set. 2 up top, 2 in the corners. And that left L.J. Cryer some room to operate with Tchamwa Tchatchoua rolling down under the basket. That little mid-range floater got it to go. That's a 7-point lead now with the ball for Baylor.
Career nights for number 4 L.J. Cryer, number 24 Matthew Meyer.
It's the Meyer and Cryer show.
I think Scott Drew likes the sound of that. He also loves seeing Adam Flagler knock down the triple.
Well, Adam Flagler was a primary scorer when he was at Presbyterian. He was all Big South, so he's carried the load before as a primary scorer. He's unafraid.
The lead is back up to double digits. Off the window for Malik Curry. 17 for Curry tonight.
A little surprised they didn't look into Asaboyan early. You know, he had, I think it was Flagler had switched off on him, but they didn't really look to him, and he didn't really post up hard. Could have, but it worked out very well for West Virginia.
The three-point shot falling tonight for the Baylor Bears. 12 triples so far. They average just under 9 a game, and that's tops in the Big 12. JTT wrapped up by Osaboyan. There's a couple of heavyweights going toe-to-toe.
You know, give Osaboyan credit because he didn't go to slap at that ball. He grabbed at it with both hands. And you're far less likely to get a foul call when you go after the ball like that. If you slap at it, which he's been prone to do, he's picked up a lot of fouls this year just trying to knock it away or slap it away. Now Meyer coming back with those 4 fouls. That's going to give Baylor now 3 scorers on the floor, make them a little bit more difficult to guard. And you have to watch Flagler off the out-of-bounds situation. Oftentimes it's the inbounds guy that gets it.
Cryer, tough shot at the shot clock winding down. Here comes Taz Sherman. West Virginia trying to make up an 8-point deficit, and they threw it right to the hands of Matthew Meyer.
Well, that's a tough play. Taz Sherman usually pretty good when he's got his back to the basket, but that pass had no chance of getting through. He basically threw it right to Matthew Meyer, looking cross court to try to get it to Bridges, but Meyer just intercepted it, and not a bad foul by Bridges. It puts him at 5 now.
So surprisingly, West Virginia still with fouls to give Jay Billis with 2:07 to go in the game.
Yeah, remarkable in a game this physical that only 12 fouls total have been called in the second half.
2 minutes left. Baylor trying to snap that 2-game losing streak.
Going with that same high horn set.
Flagler tried to do it all himself. Chamwa Chachua comes up empty, but Flagler picks it up.
Boy, what a play by Flagler. He came in from out of bounds and established himself to grab that rebound off the Chamwa Chachua miss.
Terrific second half for Adam Flagler. 9 points for him. The lead is 10 for Baylor.
Boy, it is remarkable that there wasn't a foul called there. I mean, they knocked McNeil out of bounds, and it's just an out of bounds call. I mean, that is remarkable. You know, some people say, they'll say, well, the officials are letting them play. They're letting them foul is what they're doing.
Bob Huggins nonplussed. Scott Drew looking for another road win in the Big 12, and those are like gold, Jay. Very difficult to come by.
Well, especially with James Akinjo and Jeremy Sohan out. I mean, it's really sort of, there's an elevator play. What a great play by Sherman.
Brown the rebound. And Baylor a chance to ice this one away.
Good pass.
Down low, and the two-hand jam from Jonathan Chamwa Chachua.
You know, I thought West Virginia, Rich, was going to try to foul there. Not to just foul willy-nilly, but to really go after the ball, try to get a steal. If you foul, fine. They take it out of bounds one more time. But you're not going to overcome a 12-point deficit by just getting a stop here. You got to get a score and then foul to try to extend this game. Hope they miss free throws.
Curry, the two-pointer.
Timeout, West Virginia.
We have a final timeout on the floor. 30 seconds. We'll be back to wrap this one up. Coach K and Coach Hamilton, 2 of 6 head coaches who have a longer tenure with their team than Scott Drew.
See, Rich, I thought that West Virginia should have been more aggressive there on that initial trap. If you foul, fine, but don't let it out of there. You know, they had a foul to give, so go for the ball and go for a steal. You know, same thing right here. Go for the steal, and then if you foul, fine. I mean, they have to foul now to put Baylor on the line. It's a 4-possession game. And so you're going to have to put Baylor on the line, make them make free throws to ice this thing away, because that's the only shot you've got now, is to extend this game with 51 seconds in regulation.
Baylor with 2 timeouts remaining. West Virginia down to 1. The possession arrow favors the Bears as well. So what's Bob Huggins telling his team right now in the huddle, Jay?
Well, they're talking about exactly how they're going to play this, that go for the steal and go for the ball, and then foul right away if you don't get it, because there's not enough time to try to get stops here. This is going to have to be decided at the free throw line, and then going down and getting scores and putting them back on the line again. You're not going to overcome in 50 seconds, 51 seconds. You're not going to overcome a 10-point deficit by, you know, getting a rebound and taking it the other way.
On the night, Baylor is 7 for 9 from the free throw line.
So
Meyer and Cryer.
You can be ultra aggressive here going for a steal. There's no fear of fouling. You want to foul. You want to try to get the ball.
And they do exactly that. That's Kedrian Johnson whistled for the foul.
Johnson, the second, team foul number 7.
Now Baylor will be in the bonus. L.J. Cryer steps to the line.
Cryer's an excellent shooter overall, but as a free throw shooter on the season, he's just under 70%. Knocked down both of his opportunities tonight. These are pressure free throws on the road.
A 48% three-point shooter in Big 12 play. He has 5 of them tonight.
That's such a good stroke.
Another free throw. Yeah, he is a scorer in every sense of the word.
Yeah, he's been instant offense coming off the bench. I mean, he's a double-figure scorer off the bench last year.
And now time is of the essence. Down a dozen. 45 seconds left for West Virginia. Can't convert on the 3. Osaboyan gets it. And Sherman knocks down a triple. Meyer tried the lob, and a sloppy play from Matt Meyer, and he knows it.
Yeah, that was not the most intelligent thing. Either take it to the basket yourself or pull it back out. The best thing would have been to pull it back out.
Now 25 seconds left. Scramble for the ball. JTT's got it. And it's academic at this point. Baylor's going to be able to dribble this one out. They snap a 2-game losing streak, and number 5 Baylor goes on the road and wins in the Big 12 in Morgantown. How about this? In their last 20 Big 12 road games, Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears are now 17-3. Your final once again from Morgantown. Baylor 77, West Virginia 68. For everybody here at ESPN, including my broadcast partner Jay Billis, I'm Rich Hollenberg saying so long for now.